All right, ladies and gentlemen, the first thing we are going to do is finish our lesson from worksheet 3. So, section 10.3 or unit 8, worksheet number 3. We did not finish this lesson on the day that it was given. We left one problem. So let's turn to page 2 and go to this word problem right here. You have a rectangular garden in your backyard that measures 15 feet by 10 feet. You want to double the area of the garden by adding the same distance x to the length and width of the garden. Find the value of x and the new dimensions of the garden. First thing we're going to need to do is draw a picture of the original garden. All right, so I'm going to draw a rectangle. And I'm going to say this is my original garden, and it is 15 by 10. Now, I can figure out the area of that garden because that's going to need to come into play. 15 times 10 is 150 square feet. So that's the original garden. That's what this part tells me. Now, we want to double the area of the garden. Okay, well, if I'm going to double the area of the garden, the new garden is going to be 2 times the 150, because when you double something, you multiply by 2. So the new garden is going to need 300 square feet. Okay, what else does it say? It says that we're going to double it by adding the same distance x to the length and the width of the garden. So that means I'm going to add like a border, kind of looks like a picture frame all the way around it, and it's the same distance. So that's going to be the new garden. So the new garden is going to have new dimensions, and that's what we're trying to figure out. All right, now it says I added the same distance x. Okay, so I don't know what that distance is. That's what I'm going to have to find. So that means this part, so I'm going to start at the bottom. This part I added to it, that's x. I don't know what it is. Same with the top. That's going to be x. Well, on the sides, I also added x. So like this is x, and this is x. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the new garden and I'm going to write the dimensions of the new garden. Okay, and I'm going to try to color code this as best I can. Here we go. So the new length of the garden is all of this that I'm drawing in red. The new length, I have 2 x's plus the original length 15. So the new length is 2x plus 15. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing with the width of the garden. So the width of the garden I'm drawing in purple. I have 2x again, and the original is 10. So the new width of the garden is 2x plus 10. And I know when I multiply those two together, the length and the width, it equals the new area, which is 300. All right, well, the next thing I need to do is I need to FOIL this part of my equation. I need to FOIL that. To save time, I would draw the box, the 2 by 2 box. Okay, I'm going to erase this, but I would do the 2 by 2 box. Okay, but I don't have enough room to show all that work. So that's what you need to do to FOIL it. Okay, let me back that up so I have that room. So once I FOIL it, I get 4x squared plus 50x plus 150, and it equals 300. The next thing I need to do, remember, in order to solve it, we have to have it equal to 0. So I am going to subtract 300 from both sides. So now my equation is 4x squared plus 50x minus 150 equals 0. To make the problem a little bit easier, I would like to make my numbers a little bit smaller. Now this doesn't always work, but in this case you will notice that the 4, the 50, and the 150 can all be divided by the same number, and that would be the number 2. So again, I'm doing this to make my numbers a little bit smaller and a little bit easier to work with. So I'm going to divide everything by 2. And so my equation now is 2x squared plus 25x minus 75 equals 0. Now, I need to factor that. So I'm going to need my 2 sets of parentheses. Okay, to factor that, I'm going to need the box. Okay, and I left enough room off to the side. So I'm going to go backwards and factor this. So remember how this works. Here we go. So we draw the 2 by 2 box. The 2x squared goes in the upper left-hand corner. The minus 75 goes in the lower right corner. We multiply those two together. Multiply. Okay, and we get negative 150. The 25x goes on the side. All right, so now these numbers are a little bigger than what we're used to, but we got to figure out two numbers that multiply to negative 150 and add to 25. Okay, to save time, I'm just going to jump right into it. That would be a negative 5 and 30. It might take a little bit to find them, but you can do it. So those two numbers multiplied is negative 150, and if I add them together, I get 25. So in one corner, I'm going to put negative 5x. In the other corner, I'm going to put 30x. Okay, now I'm going to pull out the GCF. So I'm going to start with the top two boxes. So the top two boxes, what do they have in common? Well, 2 goes into 2 and 2 goes into 30. So 2 and x. On the bottom, keeping the sign closest to the edge, so it's going to be negative. Okay, what number do they share, or what number can go into both of them? 5. So one of my factors is 2x minus 5. Okay, now I'm going to pull up the left two boxes. The only thing they share is x, or 1x. The right two boxes, 30 and negative 75, okay, might take a little bit, but they share 15, positive 15. And remember to go backwards when checking, so just verify. 2x times x is 2x squared. 2 times 15 is 30. Yep, that works. Negative 5 times x, negative 5x, and negative 5 times 15 is negative 75. So my other factor is x plus 15. Now, those are my factors. What are my solutions? My solutions are x equals positive 5 over 2, and as a decimal, that's 2.5. The other one is x equals negative 15. However, only one of them makes sense. The negative does not make sense because we are dealing with dimensions, which we talked about earlier in this packet. So that means x is 2.5. Okay, so let's think about this. We found out what x is, but now we want to know what are the new dimensions. So if this x, so this side of the new garden, that's 2.5 feet. Up here, that's 2.5 feet. This is 2.5 feet. And this one is 2.5 feet. Okay, do a little bit of math here. So it looks like 2.5 here, 2.5 here. That's a total of 5. 2.5, 2.5 is 5. And 15, so that means the new length of the garden is 20. Okay, what's the new width? Well, again, we added 2.5 here, 2.5 on the bottom, 2.5, 2.5, that's 5 feet. 5 plus 10, that would be 15 feet. So the new dimensions of the garden are 20 by 15. All right, you have 3 practice problems. Go ahead and work on those. One more reminder before you turn this off. Do not forget that you can, if you need a graphing calculator, you can go to Moodle. Okay, on Moodle, there's a graphing calculator right there. Go to grade 11, go to the math sampler, click on start, and the calculator is up there. Okay, do not forget you do have access to one on your computer. Again, it will not work on the phone. All right, let's go back. All right, so finish that worksheet, please.